We are back this morning. It's a beautiful Tuesday morning in Lagos. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the program. I am Nifemi Ogunto. I have some good news. Your regular anchor on the show, Yori Folari, fondly called Uncle Yori, is back, and he will be here live and direct tomorrow. So you should not miss the show tomorrow. A lot is happening around Nigeria as we count down to the much talked about general election. Campaign activities are now heated. The APC Presidential Campaign Council wants the presidential candidate of the PDP arrested, prosecuted, and disqualified. And it has to do with an audio leak from some person who said was a former aide to the former vice president. The PDP is also reacting and also, in a way, attacking the presidential candidate of the APC. We talked a lot about that yesterday and on the news. While all of that is happening, the Labour Party presidential candidate, Peter Obi, was in London at Chatham House talking about what he would do differently. He spoke about his claims as Nigeria becoming the poverty capital of the world, according to World Bank's 2018 figures, and that despite government's 500 billion yearly spending on social investment programs, things haven't changed quite much. We're talking this morning about Labour Party, but we're looking at its structure in Anambra State, which happens to be the home state of the party's presidential candidate. We're looking at what's happening with the state governor, who also recently launched its presidential campaign for his political party, APGA. Remember, I wrote a letter earlier about his position on Peter Obi's ambition to become president. It would seem that the Labour Party candidate doesn't have the full support of his own governor. We're also hearing from other stakeholders in that part of the state, particularly the recent development as to the pulling down of billboards belonging to the Labour Party. We'll be speaking with a senatorial candidate coming from Anambra, who belongs to the Labour Party. We'll also hear from the Soludo administration. I believe that we have a special advisor on political matters joining us in the course of today's program. All right, I'm joined now by the special advisor to the governor in Anambra, Dr. Alex Obiobolu. Good morning, and thank you for finding time to come.
Good morning. Good morning.
All right, so the narrative out there is that the state governor has given a charge to pull down all the billboards belonging to the opposition Labour Party in Anambra. How is your government reacting to this?
Well, I mean, that's a non-starter. In the first place, how will the governor be involved in this? Secondly, this is an issue that has to do with ANSA, the Anambra State Advertising Agency. They set the standards, they are regulatory. This organization was established way before, about over 10 years ago, when the presidential candidate of Labour Party was the erstwhile governor of Anambra State. So why would the governor order that his billboards pulled down? What we see is this is a distraction, because the events they are narrating now actually happened more than a week ago. But because of the, what I would call the tsunami of a rally we had in Anambra State, they decided to divert attention from the fact that people appreciated that APGA was still on the ground and that Anambra is APGA land. So unless I hear what the senatorial candidate has to complain about, I don't think, I think there are no issues.
So what is this thing about campaign fees? Because we are hearing that the state government had some months ago placed a public notice announcement asking presidential candidates to pay as much as 10 million naira and senatorial candidates 7 million. And the list is long for you to, publicize any to make any political campaign on government property. Some are saying this has no basis even in the Anambra state law. How do you react to that?
Sorry, your volume is poor. I can't hear you again.
I'm talking about the campaign fees that the state government has asked political parties to pay before publicizing their campaign on government property. There are some who are saying that this has no basis even in the Anambra state law.
Well, with regards to the campaign fees, in August, this is a regular thing. You know, I was once in PDP. I was contest elections. The issue was very clear. ANSA has always prescribed fees. And in 2010, 2013, they did explain to us, they called us to a meeting and explained the reason why these fees were prescribed. That politicians oftentimes litter the state with posters and bills that have to be removed after the elections at enormous cost. And that government was looking at how to generate more revenue and also the sum of money, revenue, to be able to, you know, take care of these issues that happen after the elections. And they also told us that there were other states that were doing it, and we checked, and Lagos State was one of the states that started it. So it's not something that started today. The records are there. On August 10th last year, a letter was written to all of us, all the political parties, by ANSA, prescribing the fees and telling us the conditions for campaign. And I'm not aware that my party has not complied. My party has always complied. But whether Labour Party and the rest of them have complied, I wouldn't know. I mean, they should be able to speak for themselves. In November, there was a reminder. It was reported in the dailies. That of August was reported in the cable news and some other news media. And they did tell us that the answer was going to go on enforcement. This was as far back as November. Now, in terms of the governor is very democratic. The governor, remember, has consistently given Mr. Peter Obi, the presidential candidate of Labour, the use of government facility. One, as a son of the soil. Two, as a former governor of the state.
Senator Victor Ume is a senatorial candidate under the platform, on the platform of the Labour Party. And he's saying that, I'm quoting him now, there is nothing like campaign fees under the electoral law. No state government has a right to impose any fee on any candidate before it could campaign. There is no such law in Nigeria, and no such law either in Anambra State passed by the State House of Assembly. Do you agree with it?
No, I don't agree with him. Now, I don't know what terminology was for that fee, but I know it's certainly not campaign fees, not stated as campaign fees. Secondly, it's rather unfortunate that my friend, you know, his statements, because once he was in ABGA, I was a governorship aspirant in PDP, and my billboard was pulled down. I didn't go shouting, crying wolf. I went to the agency that was supposed to have done it and complained, and they explained to me why my billboard was pulled down. And 2015, I was also overseeing the election of Senator Stella Odua. The billboard at around Boromi, just close to the Zik late president's house, her billboard was pulled down. Again, we complained. We didn't go complain in the press, saying that this was done by the government of Peter Obi or the government of Obiano. We did what had to be done. Then, in the process, we understood that the agency we paid money did not forward the fees for political advertisements. They call it political advertisement fees. So he's not been totally honest in this case.
You were Director General of the PDP candidates during the Anambra State governorship election. Are you saying that these campaign fees were in fact enacted at that time? So you paid that amount?
Yes, we paid 10 million.
Okay, so
why is he complaining?
This is not new to the Professor Soludo administration. Is that what you're saying?
Not at all. Not at all. And to show you that we are not anti or undemocratic or constricting the political space, the governor has been so gracious in allowing Mr. P2B the use of government facilities. The last one was when he came for his political rally. Let me say that I've been involved in national campaigns of PDP. When we go to states, it's mandatory that we pay courtesy visits on the governor, whether he's of a party or not. We also pay courtesy visits to key traditional rulers in the state. So when the PDP presidential candidate came to Anambra, he paid a courtesy visit to the governor and also paid a courtesy visit to the traditional rulers council. He wanted to kill 2 birds, 1 stone, and then got everybody at the government house. When Mr. P2B came for his own presidential rally, he did the same. He got the traditional rulers in the hall. And the governor said, okay, let him use the hall. As a matter of fact, the governor had a meeting with transporters and commercial vehicle operators on that day. He had to move it back to his lodge to grant his predecessor the use of that facility.
So this is an issue being raised by the Labour Party. Do you know if other parties like the PDP have paid this particular fees?
Well, if they have not paid, I believe, but I don't speak for ANSA, ANSA will have, because they went on an enforcement.
I didn't quite get that.
I said if PDP had not paid, because I wouldn't know whether they paid or not paid, but I want to believe if they had not paid, their own billboards may have been taken down. Some of their billboards may have been taken down. Now, let me tell you what I know. I got a complaint from Obiwankwo, Honorable Obiwankwo. He is a candidate for House of Reps in the Oka, North Oka South Federal Constituency, complaining that ANSA pulled down one of his billboards. And I called the ANSA MD, and I said, why? He said, well, it means because, you know, it's decentralized. The agency is decentralized. They have zonal offices. That he had to find out that it's very likely that my candidates did not pay the prescribed fee for that. And then I got back to Obi and told him, he said, oh, well, we have guys. I said, no, everyone has to pay. So why is Senator Victor Mayor shouting crying wolf? He's the only one crying wolf. He was a former national chairman of ABGA. He was there. We didn't complain when we were on the other side of it.
So help us understand precisely, since you've been involved in elections for a while in Anambra, even while you were not with the ABGA, do you know precisely under whose administration these campaign fees began and what year precisely it began?
It was Mr. P2B. Because, I have run for governor 4 times. I started running for governor in 2006.
Oh.
So that thing was enforced. They started enforcing it from 2013.
Interesting. So I understand your position, but I want you to also try to understand what the Labour, for instance, a Labour Party official was quoted to have said that Soludo himself, Professor Soludo himself, said it doesn't want Labour Party advert at such strategic places, and then ordered the signage agency to refund the money it received for the advert. He ordered the removal of all obedient billboards across the state. Many people are concerned about how these issues are being resolved so that it doesn't escalate into violence.
What he's saying is not the truth. When you go to that strategic area he's talking about, you will see the Labour Party billboard mounted. It's a big one, a unipole that has Dati and Mr. P2B on it. It's located, let me tell you the exact location. It's located at the, what you call the temporary site along the express, Onitsha Enugu Expressway. Now, what they are complaining about is the one they put up on the pedestrian bridge. Because at that place, the state government constructed a pedestrian bridge to stop the accidents so that people could cross over the highway because of the volume of pitfalls you have there. Now, that was removed by ANSA because it's a state government asset. That asset does not belong to a third-party advertising agency. It does not belong to ANSA. It belongs to the state government. So if they wanted to make use of it, they need to take the permission of the state government, not ANSA. If I own a house and you are a caretaker, you're an agency that deals in properties, you have to take my permission before you rent out my space.
So I understand the Anambra state government position, but I'm just concerned about, I want to know what your government is doing, because we had your principal recently talking about why it's important to sit at the table and engage non-kinetic approach to the security challenge in the Southeast. The election that brought Professor Soludo, there were just about 10% of registered voters turning out for that election, occasioned by, the security challenge in that area. And we're counting down to another election. Are you not concerned about the possibility of this degenerating if you insist on enforcing these campaign bills?
Well, not if we insist. ANSA, you're talking about if ANSA insists. Because we also...
ANSA is an agency of the Anambra state government, right?
Yes. No, I want to correct it. It's ANSA insisted. Now, we already engaging. Because as political advisor, I've also engaged some of them already, some of the Labour Party people, to say, listen, this is not what you think. This is the process. It's ANSA, not Soludo, not ABGA government. It's ANSA. And you need to interact with them and find out resolution mechanism for resolving this issue. So on that, we are non-informal basis, we are interacting. Because one thing about Anambra politics is that it's never violent. It never gets to that level where you're shooting each other. It's all about talk. We try to use the courts if things don't work out, but we've never been violent. And we're interacting with all of them.
Because you mentioned earlier about how tolerant the governor has been, ensuring that every political party has the free use of government facility. One would think that he will extend the same gesture in this regard if this particular issue is raising so much dust. That's the point I was making.
With dust, the issue why it's raising dust, it's not from all ABGA candidates. It's just...
Well, we're having issues with his line. We probably would take a short break and then return to speak to the special advisor to the Anambra State Governor on political matters. The phone lines are open, and we'll also hear from you shortly. Stay with us.